Okay, thank you very much for Maria and Ashley for the booking and the arrangement. Let me share my screen.
Your screen is shared, you're good. And we are seeing your main slide. Excellent.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm Rubén García-Benito. I work at the IAA, Instituto de Astrofísica de Andalucía, south in Spain, in Granada. So it's a small city. If you don't know it, we have very beautiful 1,000-year-old Arabic style monuments. So come to visit us. And I'm an astronomer. I work mainly in galaxy evolution and star formation, and also in abundances and metallicities. But I'm also a musician working mainly on cross-cultural early music. And it happens also that I lead the Cosmonic Sonification project, which is the one I'm gonna talk about here briefly. With this project, it's not a tool, it's a project, so it's like kind of a laboratory where I use sonification to explore different things. In this case, the main three areas of sonification. So the exploitation of sonification for the analysis of data, any kind of data, not only astrophysical. So sonification as a source for art, for artistic endeavors. And of course, the use of sonification for outreach. And the examples, the couple of examples I'm going to show here is about this third part, okay? So with Cosmonic, we've tested this in different environments. This is an example in Ethiopia in 2019. But the two examples I'm gonna talk about is two that I developed for Astroaccesible, which is another accessible project led by a BVI astronomer here in Granada as well. Enrique, which is the astronomer, used to use these tactile models and spheres. And once we talk about to use the sonification for his talks. So I developed a few examples for him. So in this laboratory, this Cosmonics adapts the needs of the sonification to the project and the user, and also the public. Okay, so for this, the idea was to create simple examples of astronomy, and also in the acoustic dimension. So simple dimensionality in the audio form, and the idea is to paint graph with sounds. So it's kind to explain the plots of astrophysics, in this case, with sounds. So for this, I created a dedicated YouTube channel where I upload the videos. So the videos have also animation, so it's synchronized, the sonification with the visualizations. So the two create the visual part, and the sonic part create synergies for the people who can see. We have tested that this increased the understanding of the concepts, and for the people, visually impaired people, they just can listen and they can understand after an explanation of the concept, the sonifications. All the videos are uploaded in Spanish and English, and they have a detailed description in the captions, in the description of the video. And also each video contains a short audio description of what you are gonna listen to, okay? In this first example, I am gonna present the same sonification, or the same data. This is a transit, so you have the star and you have a planet going in front of that, and then the light diminishes, okay? And the telescope is gathering light at regular times. This example wants to present a few things. The first, we wanted to have a hard example. So this data is coming from real data, but from amateur astronomers. So the transit is very noisy, okay? It's not like you have a super telescope and you have a clear drop in the light. So this has a very noisy, and we wanted to test this difficult example. In this first, we're just plotting the dots, okay? so all the light, and you have each dot has a frequency, and then you have to listen to the whole cloud of dots and see how the pitch diminishes overall, okay? So I will run it the example. Let me know if you don't hear anything, okay? Okay, this was the first sample. I just cut it the audio description, so the flags goes with pitch, and then the other is time. In the graphic, there is a lot of dots where you see overall it's very noisy, but you see a kind of drop, so that's the transit. And then in the next example, using the same data, the idea was to plot the fit line. I'm not sonifying the fitted line. I'm extracting the fitted line from a series of processes on the audio perspective, okay? So now, the same data, but with another totally different acoustic dimension, okay? I'm running now the example. Sorry. Sorry, that was the dots itself. Now I try to run the other one. Okay, so these were two examples, the same input data, two very different soundscapes, okay? So one idea was to use a hard example with very noisy data, but still that you can capture this this transit. The other one was to try to find like functions, like when you fit a line to the data, but not sonifying the fitted light, sino fitting the line in the audio dimension. Okay, and this was the second example that I call it like the solar wind effect or the stellar wind effect that you see like a very windy thing. The second idea, it was using the same data, producing two different soundscapes. So the first one, plotting the dots individually, is like a kind of robotic droid speech. And the second one is like a solar wind effect. These produce two kind of different emotions. So the first one, the robotic one, we tested with different audiences, and this is more prone to be liked by children. They kind of find this funny. And the second one is is more prone to be liked by adult people, mainly that like electronic music or contemporary music, okay? But this one tends to frighten children, okay? So one conclusion, and this is what we wanted to prove, is that you have to find for your audience the good or the more optimal soundscape for your audience, because you can scare or you can provoke different emotions with different sonifications. The second example is the stellar evolutions of, this is the plotting the Hertzsprung-Russell diagram. So this is the evolution of a star. The star along its life evolves, mainly changing the luminosity and the temperature, and this is detected by the initial mass of the star, also by metallicity, but that's a second order. Okay, so here we are plotting on the y-axis, on the vertical, the luminosity, and on the horizontal is the temperature, but in the horizontal is flipped, okay? So the the hotter stars are to the left. And then the star, we sonify the evolution of a particular star along its lifetime.
Stellar evolution. Star of 20.0 solar masses. Luminosity is frequency. Temperature is vibrato. Time steps of 1 million year.
That was the supernova explosion at the end. And with this example, I wanted to test different things. We have the standard parameter mapping. This was a difficult example. It was complicated. We have 2 dimensions. We have evolution in temperature and luminosity. So we had the pitch and the vibrato. Then we have auditory icons and ear cons. Those for the explosion of the supernova star. So we are with one noise. We sonify a particular event. And also we wanted to test the tick marks. So you see how the time evolves by this bell, okay? And this, if you put it in a nice storytelling, for example, that when stars get older, it's like when your grandma speaks, they have this wobble of the voice, and this is like at the end, the star is like speaking like, wow, changing a lot the voice, and this the children tend to laugh at the end of the process of the evolution of the stars. And this is more or less the 2 examples I wanted to test. You can find a more detailed description of these 2 examples and some reflections on cultural aesthetics and inclusivity in sonification in this paper. And I hope you enjoy these 2 examples, and I'm here if you have any questions.
Thank you, Ruben. Does anyone have any questions? Let's go ahead and unmute and speak up. We're a fairly small group today.
This is Bruce.
Hi, Bruce.
This is Bruce. Yep. I just wanted to say thank you for doing tick marks. It's just a reminder that many sonifications just deal with the data, and they seem to forget the context, the tick marks, the axes, the labels, all of the other stuff, and so it's important to consider those things like tick marks. So thank you for including those. Bravo.
Thank you, Bruce. As I said, this second one was a more complicated thing. So this is for children. You can show them, of course, and because it's funny, the bell. But introducing more and more elements, depending on the audience, you have to remove those and then try to focus on a particular thing you want to explain. But I was impressed that, I mean, the children, for this complicated example, they were kind of understanding before. I mean, we have to explain a little bit about astrophysics, of course. But they had the good experience of the time, of the tick mark. So they were trying to count how many million years were passing across the sonification. Thank you for the comment.
Yes, and I found them pleasant to listen to as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Amy. I just wanted to second Bruce's comment about the tick marks. They're just key to stay, to keep the context, basically. Where am I, you know? So thank you.
Scott, go ahead. And then Fia. Or Fia, were you up?
I was first.
Oh, sorry, you're covered by my caption.
Go ahead, Scott. If you want to respond to that last bit, just go ahead.
No, I don't. I have a separate question, so go ahead, Fia.
Yeah, no, I wanted to say that we have been thinking about the lesson plan. We have the sonification that goes radial. It sort of scans around like a, and it was suggested among other people by Nick Bong. Perhaps we should have a tick at 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, so that you understand that it's actually scanning around. And that's something we haven't really researched. We're wondering if, you know, that would be interesting if anybody has any comments on that, and we can bring it back into the working group. So we don't need to do that now, but if you can respond, if you have an idea about that, because it made me think that those ticks, that it will help you know where you are, and that it actually scans in a circular motion, the sonification, so that you also need to scan the tactile model. If you want to scan along, you need to scan it in a circular motion as well. Thanks.
That's fantastic.
Scott, go ahead.
My question, Ruben, was your decision to not sonify the fit because it's part of the experiment, or do you recommend that you try to that we should think about sonifying models or fits to data at the sound level and not at the model level itself, if that makes sense?
No, this was an experiment, because we usually try to reproduce or translate everything we do on the visual thing to the audio. And this was kind of a challenge for me to try to think only on the audio, from the audio perspective. And I wanted to just do, like, you have the, I don't know, in Python, the fitting line to the data. I want to have a function of fitting line to the audio, let's say. And this was kind of an experiment. Of course, if you fit the line and you sonify the fitted line, you will have a very nice curve, very simple and clean. But I wanted to try another thing and try to explore in another way of thinking. No? But I think two approaches are nice. It depends on what you want to show or what is more effective in some parts. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because my reaction was it obviously is not as clean as sonifying the actual model would be, but you do have a sense of the uncertainty still because it's built into the sounds that you use to make the model fit, right? Because you sort of did an average or something of the sound, if you will. So it was interesting. It's an interesting approach.
That was the idea also, and also remind that this is amateur data, so it's very, very noisy.
Yes, and I actually think that brings up something that we've brought up before at the chat, is that allowing someone without vision the same ability to interpret the data as they want to is important. So visually, you're seeing all the uncertainty in the data along with the curve. So allowing that access is important. And I see Sarah nodding, so maybe she has something to add.
Oh, no, I was just sort of agreeing with that it is quite valuable to be able to hear how noisy the data is naturally. But nothing in particular to add there.
Okay.
I would jump in to say that we always want to think about the communicative intent, right? The graph is constructed in a way to convey a message. And we might, for example, in the example that we saw visually, the line that goes through the data, the fit line, if you will, was sort of bright red, if I recall. And so it's more salient and it stands out as a separate stream of data from the rest of the data. You can do that with sound as well, right? You could make all of the data points softer, quieter, and so that you would still get a sense of the data, but then have the fit line, the sounds that represent the fit line, be a little bit louder or more unique or stand out with a different timbre and so on. So all the things that we do kind of implicitly when we're making visualizations and graphs, we can do using sound, but sometimes we have to think a little bit more about how to actually implement it.
Okay, excellent. We're going to take Adrian's question and then we are going to go to our next presentation.
Yeah, I'll just be quick. My connectivity is not great, so I'm going to turn off my video. One of it came up a lot at Audible Universe when we were doing the design and evaluation of different projects. As part of that, we talked about the importance of always providing context and some sort of a legend like you might have on a map to help people have accessibility to understand what the plots were about. So I would imagine if Ruben was going to take this to another level, considering adding those things in.
Thank you, Adrian, for the question. Yes, I think that's the way to go to proceed. And also, as I said, also we have to think about our public. What is the receptor? And that affects a lot on what you want to present and the complexity of the sonification and the amount of data you want to put in. But definitely what you said, I mean, is the way to go. And yes, I want to go on more with defining more about the tick marks, the context, and all the content of the sonification. But it's very important to provide first, in my opinion, a very good description of the sonification. So it's a caption. I mean, the caption, when you have a plot, you have always a good caption explaining what you are going to see. Without that, the plot is useless, and the sonification is also useless. And I think it's also important to provide a summary, I mean, audio description of you are gonna to listen to. Perhaps also the caption, but that might be long. I mean, if you have a text, the voiceover can read it for you. But I think the sonification, the audio itself should contain a few information, a voice description of you are going to see, not just the sound they're playing without any context.